Good morning and welcome to this week's Upper Deck Show. I'm Lynn. Chris is away today, and I have a very special co-host joining me. Hey, Spencer.
Good morning, Lynn. How are you? And I just want to say before we start today's show, we just want to extend our prayers to the right field fence at Dodger Stadium. We hope it makes a full recovery, and we hope that there is no permanent damage to it. Cue the music.
Oh yes, that right field fence is going to be a big topic of conversation.
Yeah, no doubt.
Today. And hey, Lori. Hey, FJ. Good to see you in the chat already. Hey, Steve. Nice to have people right at the jump with us, and we're going to jump right in because there's a lot to talk about. So we have Spencer, our trivia whiz, today. And just like we did last week, we're starting off the shows now with the trivia questions of the week. And that gives you the whole show to ponder about them. And Spencer is a bearer of gifts and sometimes over gifting, like he has two for us. So I am going to go ahead and put it on the screen. Maybe that'll settle in minds. But Spencer, you're up.
Thank you very much, Lynn. I thought these trivia questions paid tribute to the history of the Yankees and the Dodgers. First of all, this is the 45th anniversary of the Yankees' 1978 championship against the Dodgers. We know that Reggie Jackson secured his legacy with the Yankees the year before when he hit 3 home runs off of 3 different Dodgers pitchers on 3 singular pitches. But in 1978, he also played a pivotal role. The Dodgers arrived to New York with already a 2-0 lead. The Yankees did win Game 3, but they were trailing 3-0 in the 6th inning in Game 4. Thurman, Munson, and Reggie Jackson were on base, first and second, respectively. When a ball was fielded, there was a ball that was hit to Bill Russell, and Bill Russell stepped on second to force out Reggie. But as he threw to Steve Garvey for the double play, his throw hit Reggie in the hip. Of course, this play was very famous because it is felt that Reggie stuck his hip out. Reggie says he didn't. Tommy Lasorda for years said he did. But that play is said to have turned the tide for that World Series and to enable the Yankees to get their 22nd World Championship. So the question for that is, who was the Yankee that hit the ground ball to Bill Russell? Any guesses out there?
Yeah, 1978. I remember it well.
I think 1978 was the year that I first watched baseball. The only thing I remember is seeing Reggie Jackson get a hit in that game.
Yeah, and the candy bar. I imagine you knew about the candy bar. Yeah, that's a lot of my T-shirts in my closet are part of this trivia question. Okay, and you brought a second gift. So
well, when you think of the Yankees and the Dodgers, you can't help but think of the very famous play of Jackie Robinson stealing home in the 1955 World Series. It was in the 9th inning. Whitey Ford was on the mound. Yogi Berra was the catcher. Jackie stole home. Who was the batter when Jackie stole home?
Ooh. So who was the Dodger that did that?
Who was the Dodger? And if you Google this, and if you look up articles, it's hard to find. It took me a little bit of time to get this answer.
Well, we don't Google here because everyone who listens to the show knows that we are honor bound. No phone a friend. No Googling. Use your gut instinct process of deduction.
It's a hard one. Shall I give the answer?
Oh no. Let them ponder, and I'll cue you at the end. We'll give the answer.
Okay.
Then, And for sure, everyone, put it in the chat your guesses, which we'll neither accept or deny until the end of the show. I see that FJ was the first to weigh in. Perhaps not. But number 14 is still in my closet. But since I have that shirt from when I was 14 years old, can't ever wear it, but it's there. He was my very first Yankee boyfriend. All right, so let's dive right in, Spencer. So I think we have enough to talk about with the series that hopefully we're bouncing the Dodgers off some rubber today and getting the series win. You wanted to give us a little kickoff into that, right?
Oh, sure. Well, this was a West Coast week, of course. The Yankees started off in Seattle. They took 2 out of 3. They scored 10 runs in the first 2 games against Seattle. Then they got shut out. Then we flew out to Dodger Stadium, lost the first game. Then they won yesterday. Lynn, how do you feel about when the Yankees do these West Coast trips and they play night baseball, after dark baseball? What are your thoughts on that?
I could tell you how Duncan feels. Duncan feels a hell of a lot richer.
Sure.
Because I am getting double coffees in the mornings, not the mornings after. They are hard for people that have to be conscious and functioning behind a desk
Right.
at 8 a.m. like I do. So that 6 a.m. alarm is painful. But it was certainly worth it for the first series of the week out in Seattle.
Sure, absolutely. I myself, I really like the West Coast trips. That's not to say that it's not a challenge for me to be able to stay up for a full game, on a Monday night or a Tuesday night. By Wednesday night, I was really dragging. That I was in and out of my sleep. That was the game when the Yankees lost 1-0. But in general, I like the West Coast games because I like how you finish your day, spend a little time with the family in the evening, and then you can sit back, relax either in your bed or on your couch, and you've got nothing but baseball to watch. It's a very relaxing, very, very chill vibe when that happens. So I myself, I kind of like the West Coast games, but I understand that if you're in a line of work and you got to be up at 5 in the morning, it's not going to work out for you.
So clearly we have co-hosting today, glass half full, glass half empty. But here we are. So we landed in LA, and from San Diego, which really it's not worth talking about because we have so much to be sad about and upset about in the world. So let's go in order. Let's go in order.
You got it.
Let's go to Sevy Friday.
Severino on Friday. Severino is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You just don't know what you're going to get with Luis Severino. I'm going to backtrack a little bit to your previous show. You and Lynn were talking about what happens when his contract runs out. Would you want to bring him back? Would you not want to bring him back? I'm in the camp of Yankee fans that would be okay if the Yankees severed ties with Severino at the end of the season. That's because of his injury history, and he has been inconsistent. I think the Yankees can rebound if they lose Severino. But the game on Friday night, it was just typical. You don't know which Severino that you're going to get, and we got bad Severino. The thing that was really remarkable to me was that whether he was tipping his pitches or not, it was amazing how batter after batter by the Dodgers was able to make contact with the ball and able to find grass with the ball. I mean, you can hit the ball, but you might find a fielder's glove. So just because they're hitting it doesn't guarantee that they'll get a hit. So it really was a perfect storm in the worst way for Severino. I was surprised. I think we were all surprised that he got into the 4th inning of that game. But at that point, his objective was to just preserve the bullpen as best as possible.
Right. And, so he said after the game that, he doesn't think he was tipping pitches. And he also denied any injuries or any uncomfortableness, and said it was all about location. He was just
Yeah.
having trouble locating. We had Coney in the booth that night, and Coney was saying that his pitches were just looking flat.
Yeah.
And Coney was just being kind by saying that the velocity was non-existent.
Yeah, I recall him saying that as well.
He was about 2.3 miles per hour below his average, so low 90s, and low spin rate, and probably, yes, so poor location. Not a good formula for success there.
Now the funny thing is, Severino is going to get on the mound again, and at some point he's going to pitch a game. He'll probably pitch like a 2-hitter, probably get like 10 strikeouts, shutout baseball. He'll probably do well, and then the Yankee fans will think, "Oh, great, Severino, he's back. We love this guy." But eventually, what's going to happen is he's going to get on the mound and he's going to lay another egg. Joel Sherman and John Heyman, they also talked about Severino when he just got back on their podcast, The Talk. That's on the Yes Network. I listened to it. Another thing about Severino, you have to watch his starts with the anticipation, embrace yourself that, eventually he's going to get injured again. So we're watching him pitch and wondering, okay, this is good now, but when is he going to be out again? When are we going to get the announcement that he's re-injured?
Right. Yeah.
You can't help it.
No, you can't. We have post-trauma, stress about that. We know that that's his pattern. And you have Steve agreeing with you, as you see there, Spencer.
Appreciate it.
And I agree. This was going to be my caveat to it also, Steve, that, assuming Rodon is back and, we confirm where in the world Montas is, that'll be a deciding factor. But
Hey, I don't mean to cut you off, Lynn, on Montas. I myself have zero confidence in Frankie Montas. Even if he gets healthy, if he gets back onto a mound, I just get the sense that the guy is just not made up for New York Yankees baseball. What would be great is if he proved me wrong, made me look like a fool. I'd be fine with that. But I myself am not in the camp of people who are confident about Montas. That's just me.
No, and what would be great is if we actually get an opportunity to make that assessment.
Yeah.
We haven't had the opportunity to make. So, in terms of, being in our uniform.
Yeah.
But, if we hold on to Sevy, I think there is like a good majority that feel like if we have to because we're short of something else, then yeah, they would. But I think everyone would see the logic, and how seldom do we see the logic if that were to happen?
It never makes sense to us.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And so that was the only thing worth mentioning, because we know how Friday landed. The score was what at the end, like a basketball score.
Yeah, 8-4. And the ironic thing is that you got home runs out of Josh Donaldson. You got a home run out of Giancarlo Stanton. So the guys, who were wondering about, when they return, I mean, they had immediate impact. It's unfortunate that the pitching let them down.
Right, and that's usually the opposite, right? Usually it's been the offense not helping the good pitching.
What are your thoughts about Giancarlo not being in the lineup yesterday?
He and Donaldson were both out of the lineup yesterday, and whenever Boone is confronted about that was always the plan. They were always going to play 2 out of 3 this series.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of outcry about that on Twitter. A lot of people were wondering, where are they? I myself, I was not surprised. I mean, I was disappointed. It's a little, I guess you could say I'm adapting to the world that we live in now, which is when you come back from an injury like that, maybe you'll play a game, then you'll take a day off. You'll play a game, then you'll take a day off. They have a system about it. That's the world that we live in. But I wasn't decrying the move. It was more like just reconciliation and accepting of it. Doesn't even necessarily mean I agree with it, but I accepted it.
That's a very graceful philosophy about it. There was a lot of ungraceful philosophy about
it. Oh, no doubt. I understand how Yankee fans feel. I totally get it.
Oh, Steve, thanks for the correction. Donaldson did play yesterday. My bad. So that's my one for the show. I always have one for the show.
Now we've got that E1 on our scoreboard, Lynn. E1.
I know. I'm sorry, but my friends in the chat, if they haven't caught on, there will be one of these where something's in my head and something different comes out of my mouth. That's not just about this show. It's about my life. I do it all the time. Product placement. Yep. And so quick, funny example. I was at a premiere one night for ESPN, and Peter Jennings was there, and I bumped into him in the bar.
Yeah.
And, our elbows touched at the bar. And I said, "Oh, excuse me, Mr. Brokaw." I know who Peter Jennings is. and I scurried away and, hid in a corner. So yeah, that's just a Lynn thing. Everyone in my life knows it. Apologies, but that's me. And yeah, so thank you for having my back there. Donaldson did play. And what I was going to say, though, Donaldson, who I call bringer of the pain, really kept us pain free. I mean, two home runs, laying down his gauntlet for his return, looking really good. And that, by the way, is going to open up the question about third base moving forward, which, DJ has been, handling. And now we have DJ back to sort of, platooning, giving breaks to Glaber and Rizzo. Unless there's something else in Boone's mind that we can't possibly predict. Well, when could we ever predict Boone's mind? So speaking of injury returns, so we lost Bader. He's not back till mid to late this month. We just lost Greg Allen.
Greg Allen's gone.
Yep, and sometime possibly June.
A lot of times, I think some of these injuries are stunning to us because we don't see them happen on the field. It's not like you see a play like where a fielder is diving down and then on the replay you see like their wrist curl up or you see their foot get caught. These are injuries that are happening where you feel like everything is normal. Then you read your sports news or your Yankee news or you go on your Twitter feed and all of a sudden you're reading Harrison Bader is out.
Yeah.
What happened? What did I mean 95% of Yankee fans are asking themselves, what did I miss? How did he get injured? Greg Allen, how did he get injured? That's part of the frustration for us is that we don't see these things coming. It feels, like having the rug pulled from under your feet.
Right. And there was no evidence of this right hip flexor strain. And the fact that they're not saying mid to late June like they did with Bader, and they're saying possibly June, isn't a good feeling.
This is it's a bad dream. I wouldn't expect them back till then. Also, I mean, when I hear June, I think probably more likely like right after the 4th of July.
Yep.
You got to have your expectations. You got to have low expectations. When they talk about player injury returns. I mean, these are Major League Baseball athletes. The injuries that they have take much longer to heal than for an average person like yourself or for me. So that's why I do get skeptical when they give us the timeline. I'm not at all surprised that it took Giancarlo Stanton as long as it did to get him back in the lineup. It's just, again, it's the way it is.
Right. And since they've always kept him, in bubble wrap, I think that also contributes to how long it takes him when he does have to go out, because he hasn't been pressed in some ways, which one could argue might be building him up more so that he is less injury prone.
Well, how about this injury to Brian Weber?
Well, Ryan Weber.
I like to call Wally Cleaver because he looks like Wally Cleaver.
Yeah, and I think the Beav is too young to qualify.
Anybody out there know their TV history? Come on, there got to be some Leave It to Beaver people out there. Find a picture of Wally Cleaver, put it next to Weber, and you'll see they look very, very similar.
That's the only thing you're allowed to Google at the moment. Yeah, so we got Ryan Weber with the right forearm strain and TBD.
Yeah.
What does TBD mean? Tommy John or some other thing, because there was an MRI, and next thing is expected TBD. I pray it's not Tommy John, but I've learned how to expect the worst and hope for the best.
I can't understand how you get these forearm strains also. I mean, that is, the forearm, to get an injury over here. I mean, what's your forearm doing when you're pitching? If it's on your hand, it's just kind of staying still. It's not like your wrist. It's not like your elbow. It's not like your shoulder where there's mobility. The forearm is just a connector there. So I don't understand how pitchers get these forearm injuries.
Uh, I don't either, but I don't like it. And so speaking of bullpen, we also have Hamilton down,
Yeah.
right groin strain, and mid-June for him.
Yeah.
So
Now, you see the Hamilton thing, I can sort of reconcile because we saw that happen. We were watching the game when he was on the mound, showed that he was in discomfort. So that I understand. And I'm not saying that just because I didn't see an injury happen, that it shouldn't be happening, that I shouldn't be upset about it. But it's just that, when you don't see it happen, it's really just harder to process.
right. Right. And so FJ is kind of connecting what we were just saying about the frequent injuries, that he's concerned about Bader, because we got Booty Bader at the beginning, and he had already been on the IL list and came back for 5 seconds and back out on it again.
Yeah,
And
listen, Harrison Bader has been very productive for the Yankees since he's been here. He was very productive, in the playoffs. He really saved the Yankees when he came back. I mean, nobody saw that coming. But as far as like getting into talk about, what should we do for him in the future, I myself don't yet see him again as like a forever Yankee or as a long-term Yankee. I think we're getting some use out of him, kind of like what we did for Luke Voit. Luke Voit gave us a couple good seasons, and then he his production was and his services were no longer needed. So that's kind of where Harrison Bader is for me right now. Again, I hope I'm wrong. I hope he gets healthy. I hope he produces well. And if he does get a long-term contract, and if it's a successful one, okay, that's great. I love being proven wrong in that sense. But right now, I'm just not feeling it.
oh, we'll see. I'm a Bader fan. I think
Okay,
that I
for
think
your sake, I hope he signs.
well, thank you. Thank you. But yeah, I just, for the reasons you just said, Spencer, I think that and perhaps he over tried when he returned, because what he was doing on the field was nothing short of spectacular.
Yeah,
The plays he was making were just,
both ends with the glove and with the
yeah,
bat.
were just like highlight reel worthy, every last one of them.
Yeah.
So um and the plate, the bat was coming along with it, not to the extent that I would have wanted, but we'll see. And you know what, the outfield remains our big, other than the bullpen, our biggest concern of the moment.
Yeah.
And so that's going to factor in too. So we'll see where we land as we start hitting the end of the season.
All right. Thank you.
FJ wants you to know, by the way, that he's well aware who Wally Cleaver is. Yes, the actor Tony Dow.
Rest in peace, Tony Dow.
And hey, Joe, good to see you. Good morning. And
How are you?
And he's saying, I'd sign Bader for 3 years.
Okay.
Laying it down. Okay, Joe, I
Okay.
like it. I like my Bader.
For me, it's a situation where, I always acknowledge maybe the other fan sees something that I don't see. So you guys definitely see something more than I do. And as long as he's a productive player, I'd be okay with that. Again, I love being proven wrong.
The other thing I like about him is we need more youth on this team.
Yeah.
And so.
Oh, yeah. I don't want this turning into like a situation in 2012, 2013 when the Yankees got old right before our eyes. Yeah.
Right. And we're heading there.
Yeah.
And so if we can see a really great sample from him, hopefully he'll be in the talks for staying or not. We'll see. We want what's best for the team ultimately.
Hey, Lynn, we got to
yeah.
talk about Oswaldo Cabrera.
Yes. Well,
okay,
exactly.
bye, Oswaldo. We'll see you later. No,
Yeah.
come on. But come on back. No. So you go to AAA. Go to AAA. Come on back. Come on back. Come on back.
Yeah, I mean, and that's exactly the tie-in to what we were just talking about. Because this poor kid should not and have seen it coming, nor did we,
Yeah.
that he'd be the one sent back down to to make room for Stanton and Donaldson coming back up, and there was a lot of um, right, armchair managing about who it should
Of
have
course.
been, etc. Because that's how we roll. But this
I was surprised about it myself. I mean, I listened to Mike Scudero's podcast or his show a couple weeks ago. A lot of people were sending down Willie Calhoun.
Right. And there's another Calhoun that is just about gone if the Yankees don't take him up on that 72-hour notice before he's fully released. And that's flying around out there.
But I thought the story of Oswaldo Cabrera, I thought that was amazing what he did yesterday. I mean, like you and me, he woke up on the East Coast. He goes to Newark Airport, on the morning of, flies out to California, lands in California, suits up for the Yankees, gets in the game, and not only hits a home run, but hits a home run that was crucial, that was vital to the Yankees. Even though the Dodgers didn't, close it any further than they did on the ninth inning, they were set up and poised, to win that game. So that was a very important home run. I think it gave Clay Holmes a little bit of breathing room and helped him relax and to throw strikes. And he did, pretty well.
Absolutely. That was the Holmes you want to see.
Yeah.
And Spencer, we were talking before the show about, Holmes is another one that's a little bit like a box of chocolates, and you never know what you're going to get lately.
And what I, my feeling is, I think that in the bigger picture, it's that this whole Yankee team is just unpredictable, especially in the bullpen. You never know how the guys are going to perform. Let's talk about Wandy Peralta. Did anybody see him not getting an out when he came in? You feel good as a fan when Wandy Peralta comes into the game. You don't feel so good when you see Clay Holmes coming into the ninth inning. Wandy Peralta was just not Wandy Peralta-like. He was awful yesterday. I actually thought it was good that Boone took him out after 3 hitters. Just get him out of there. He just didn't have it that day.
Yep. And so bringing that up brings us up to the move that led to Peralta being called in. But I want to tie Cabrera up with a bow first because,
sure.
And FJ's saying that Cabrera was the only one with options. So, that explains why he was the one to go down. And absolutely, Cabrera handled that with class. And, and Cabrera has been the guy that's just saying, I'll play wherever you want me to play. Yeah. I'll do whatever you want me to do. I just want to play.
Good point.
And so, but yeah, I mean, he didn't even get to play a AAA game. I don't even know if he got to change his underwear. He was there so shortly. So, and to come with the jet lag, straight to the stadium and do what he did.
It's a testimony of his character. No excuses. Performed, and he performed at a high ability.
That's right.
And you want to talk about tying it up with a bow. The home run that he hit was actually caught by some very well-known Yankees Twitter people. Mario Gomez, Joey, who goes by DJ MVP, and Connor McGuire. We saw all those guys in there catching the ball. I forget the gentleman who actually caught the ball. He's known in Twitter. I don't know him myself. I think Johnny's Lasagna.
Johnny Lasagna, yeah.
So it was really cool, seeing those guys get that home run. That was awesome.
Yeah, I love just the fact that they're all there together in Dodger Stadium. And our friend Gina Moscato was also near them because she posted a picture of her holding the ball.
Yeah.
So that what a thrill that for them to be there and catch that ball. And it'll be it'll be interesting to see what happens with Cabrera. I understand, that he had the options, but boy, it would probably make it harder to send him back down again if they had to.
Now, Steve, he cites, Peralta gives him nerves because of walking too many batters. I don't really see Peralta walking too many batters. When he comes in, I don't think, oh no, it's going to be a walk festival. Clay Holmes, he is definitely a walk festival. He is a guy that definitely he complicates the simple.
Yeah, and it complicates the simple. And so what brought Peralta in the first place was a moment of controversy, because Cole didn't come back out after the sixth.
Yeah.
And so Cole left after 80 pitches, which is unheard of. And any of us sitting on our couches didn't see anything that would warrant it. And so it seemed so random. And of course, there was a lot of trigger tweets going out from disgruntled fans who shall remain nameless. Okay, me. But I wasn't alone.
You're a righteous Yankee fan, Lynn. You can do no wrong.
Oh, I'll give you some phone numbers. But it made no sense. To be fair, it made no sense. We had no context, and it just was. I don't know how everyone in the chat felt when that happened, but yeah, it was mind-boggling to me. It made zero sense, and he was, Cole had not the best outings the past couple of, he hasn't been Cole all the way through lately.
Yeah.
And here he is at 80 pitches going into the seventh is amazing.
Yeah.
So, but we all found out after. Now you all know that he had some sort of cramping going on, and he admitted that he was uncomfortable. He didn't ask to go out, but Boone made the decision.
That's something that I would have pointed out, that I'd bring up. Like, they did interview him. He did say that he had some leg cramps, but his demeanor was very reserved. You got a sense that he was holding something back. So I don't want to read too much into it, but that was definitely something that I noticed. And as far as pulling him, yeah, it's disappointing. Now, of course, we don't want a guy pitching where they can be at risk for injuring themselves, especially your ace. But, it's like we have a lead against the Dodgers, the mighty Dodgers, and Cole is pitching great. And again, this is something where it's like the rug being pulled from under our feet. Well, now we got to, put it to the bullpen, which is unpredictable.
Right.
We got to hope that these guys will finish the game for us.
Right. And to your point, Boone gave him the hook, very quickly and brought King in. And yeah, King gave up a run, but after that, really just shut it all down from there. Yeah. Right? Any thoughts on King?
Oh, I think Michael King is terrific. I thought what he did was heroic, pitching 2 innings, got into a little bit of trouble. That, of course, is where we saw the great play by Aaron Judge, crashing into the fence. Now, we have all been at Yankee Stadium before. We've all stood in the outfield. We've all put our hands over on the outfield wall to give it a feel. When I touch that outfield padding, that padding is not much of a cushion. Players that are running full steam into that padding, they're going to hurt themselves. So when I saw the play that happened to Aaron Judge, I think it does raise the question, did the Players Association, does Major League Baseball, have they discussed about making the walls more secure for the players? I can't understand why a play like that even happens. I mean, I know accidents will happen. Again, we hope that the fence is okay. We hope there's no permanent damage to it. Just a pretty big guy. But a play like that shouldn't happen. A player shouldn't be, at risk for injuring themselves. When you look at these stadiums, they have concrete and brick around the perimeter. I don't understand that. Somebody's got to explain that to me, because that's not really helping with player safety.
I think that's a really fair point. And obviously one that, if it's being considered, it's not being addressed. And so, and this gate, the gate was a big topic of the post-game presser with Boone. Apparently just has a latch on it.
Yeah.
not a deadbolt, not a, and so, and then you have a, 280-pound, 7'8" guy running at it. Of course that's going to happen. And by the way, so Judge was running so fast that he covered 79 feet in 4.7 seconds to get to that ball.
Of course, the insult to the injury is that when he went through the gate, the umpires awarded the base runner second base. I think it was Max Muncy that was on the base, if I'm not mistaken. Is that who it was?
Yeah, I know it was J.D. Martinez that hit
J.D. Martinez, yeah, he hit the ball.
Right. So, so that's really the question here. Well, there's two questions. One is concern over Judge, because he said after the game that there was concern about, or it was Boone really that said this, sorry. There was concern about his shoulder and the way he hit the, but Boone said no. Actually, he did say in the dugout that it was his toe was bothering him.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
And so right, because you were saying earlier, I think before our friends were here with us, that there's concrete there at the bottom, and
the gate isn't flush with the ground. There's like a little lift up there, and there's a piece of concrete. So if you're not looking, you could trip over it.
Right.
And if you're running full steam like Judge was, you could crash into it. You could break a toe. You could twist an ankle. Yeah.
And so how long was DJ out recently for a toe?
Yeah.
Because
Major League athletes, injuries to them, they heal much more. It's much more of a complicated situation than for, us regular folks.
And so I hope that's just not the case here. And, less of my prayers will go to the gate and more to Judge, that we'll see him in the lineup.
Speaking of the lineup today, we've got, we don't have the lineups yet, but let's talk about our pitching matches for today. We've got young Bobby Miller, rookie, 2-0, 1.64 ERA, and he's going against Domingo Germán.
Domingo Germán, who is not exactly well matched with Miller.
Which Domingo Germán is going to come out today? What does the chat think? Which Domingo Germán is going to come out? The guy who threw 8 1/3 shutout innings, or the guy who can't get out of the third inning?
Or the guy whose hands are going to be clean and scrubbed as if he's about to go in for surgery?
Yeah.
Because he better be.
Put on that iodine.
Yeah. So all those things. And just even on paper, though, when over the last 3 appearances, he's at a 3 ERA.
Yeah.
So he's not exactly shoving the ball the way we would want him to.
Right.
And I want to just skip back for a second. One more thing about the whole Judge thing. So focused on the injuries, but what about the call itself? So it was considered essentially a dead ball because the catch was out of play.
Right.
And I take objection to that. And I think we have some historical examples about it. And what's the definition of out of play?
Right.
Because the ball was in motion, Judge caught it, and yes, it was out of play because their friggin' fence was too weak to hold him.
Right.
If it was a center field wall in Yankee Stadium, this wouldn't be a conversation.
Correct.
Or any wall in Yankee Stadium for that matter.
Right.
So I just don't understand it. I think it's arbitrary. I think it speaks to all of these allowances that the contract left open for umpires to make calls like this.
Yeah, it feels like they're making it up as they go along. It's very fortunate that the Yankees won that game because, if they had lost, because of an umpire call like that, it would be understandable if Yankees Twitter and Yankees Universe was livid about that, which is a nice way of putting it. It would be understandable if Aaron Boone was livid about it, a nice way of putting that as well. You don't want to lose a game, based on an arbitrary call like that. It's like they're saying, listen, we're going to just let you go to second base. We feel like we want to give you the advantage.
Yeah, because it was out of play.
Yeah.
No, he caught the ball. And it doesn't matter, at least history shows it doesn't matter where you are when you catch a ball. Hell, on any game day, you catch a ball that might have gone out of. Look, when Judge reached over the wall to catch that ball, a recent series ago, right,
Yeah.
and robbed a home run of someone. Well, then by their definition, that was out of play also. Because
Real quickly, Lynn, I also, because you brought this, this comes to mind also on the strikeout pass ball play. I forget who the batter was, but the batter started running to first, and he wasn't in that box, which apparently is there, after 45 feet for the runners to run in, so that way a catcher or a fielder can make a clean throw to first base. So I'm wondering why it is that an interference call was not called. When is it interference? When is it not interference? Because that runner was not in the baseline. I also do not like that rule, strikeout, pass ball, runner gets to run to first. I do not think that pitchers should be penalized for a rule that was invented when baseball was known as town ball. They got to get rid of that rule. When I'm commissioner, I'm getting rid of the pass ball, strikeout, run to first rule.
Looking
Sometimes
forward.
it has helped the Yankees, but you know something? It's an outdated rule. It's got to be eliminated.
Yeah, that's just one of probably a list we could spend a whole show on. But, there's the thing is, as far as I'm concerned, if regardless of the position of your body, if you're completing a play by catching it, it counts.
Right.
There's no consolation prize to the batter.
Yeah.
I used the example yesterday on Twitter about, so what do we do about Jeter's, infamous jump into the stands?
Yeah.
Where he came out all bloodied, with a ball in his hand that he caught for that third out, that game.
Exactly.
Now, eject him from Cooperstown and just the scorecard. That wasn't considered out of play, but this was.
Yeah.
So, it's just nuts to me.
This was one that the umpires could have used discretion. They could have used discretion.
Yeah, absolutely. And they feel like they did use discretion, and that was their decision.
One of those cases where we all just agree to disagree.
Well, yeah, but I disagree. Period.
At least we won the game.
At least yeah, absolutely.
Makes the win that much more satisfying.
So Spencer, how about letting people off the hook here in the chat and those that have listened through afterwards with the answers to the trivia questions of the week?
Okay, well, in 1978, the ground ball that was hit by Bill Russell, I believe somebody got it. Was that you, FJ? I'm going to assume it was. You're right. Lou Piniella is the one who hit the ground ball. So Lou set into motion the batted ball that turned the tide of the 1978 World Series and garnered the Yankees their 22nd World Championship.
I was telling Spencer before the show, guys, that Lou and Thurman were my joint Yankees boyfriends when I was 12 in 1978, and I still have Lou Piniella's T-shirt in my closet. Granted, it was when I was 12, so it would fit my right arm, but I have it, and I remember being at a game, and it was around the time that I guess they were really starting to use the Lou thing.
Yeah.
And being so upset because I thought they were going boo. And my father had to calm me down and say, no, it's Lou.
For anyone out there, any of the readers out there, Bill Madden, he wrote a biography on Lou Piniella. I read it. It was great. So definitely worth reading. And I don't like reading biographies all that much. So
I'm gonna have to check that one out. I have every Lou Piniella card, every single one from rookie on through manager.
Yeah. And
I will never part with that.
In case you're interested, Lou Piniella, when he was in high school, he played against Tony La Russa. They were in the same area. So those guys, they go a long way back.
Oh, so
they faced off in the World Series in 1990. So that was that's pretty interesting.
We can't seem to get away from this Yankees-Dodgers thing.
Speaking of the Yankees-Dodgers, when Jackie Robinson stole home, the batter at the time, not a very well-known batter. His name was Frank Kellert, kind of a utility player. I think he was pinch hitting for Don Newcomb at the time. But he was the batter when Jackie Robinson stole home. What I found interesting when I was looking this up is that before Jackie Robinson got to third, he was on second base. The Dodgers were rallying in Game 1 of the '55 World Series. And he reached third base on a sacrifice fly. The batter that hit the sacrifice fly is someone that is integral to the Yankees, was with the Yankees in the 1990s, and someone that we all really liked and appreciated. That batter was Don Zimmer. So if Don Zimmer didn't get that sacrifice fly, or put another way, Don Zimmer set into motion the events that would create one of the most iconic plays in baseball history, Jackie stealing home. He hit the sacrifice fly that got Jackie to third base.
Oh, rest in peace, Sim. Gotta love you. So, Spencer, you had an announcement to make about some voting coming up.
Lynn, the All-Star ballots are out. Exciting times. I already submitted my first vote, and really looking forward to getting some Yankees in there. Thinking about last season, we know that Aaron Judge is going to make it. I'm pulling for Giancarlo Stanton. I know he's been out for a long time, but because it's a fan vote, we get to decide. So Yankee fans, let's get Giancarlo in there again. Kind of interesting,
win another home run derby.
Yeah, kind of interesting though, because our other three All-Stars were three of our other All-Stars: Nestor Cortez, Clay Holmes, and Trevino, Jose Trevino. Not really having seasons which would warrant them getting onto the All-Star team this year. I hope they do better, but kind of interesting what a difference a year makes.
Are you surprised with Volpe and Cabrera on there so early on in their careers?
No, but I think that's just a technical matter. I think because they're the regular fielders, for the Yankees, they're automatically placed on. At least Volpe for sure. I'm not so sure about Cabrera. They won't get the votes. They're not having that kind of a season, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's another, I guess, check in the box for Rookie of the Year attention.
But I love the All-Star game, and I'm glad the All-Star game is no longer played to determine who gets home field advantage. I love the idea of the best players in the National League going up against the best players in the American League and just playing one exhibition game to see, who earns the right to say that they're the best league, in the majors, something like that.
Right.
It's a very crude way of putting it.
So I don't know who everyone in the chat is thinking of. I see Steve is thinking Rizzo and Torres as possibilities.
They could be.
I think that's fair. So
I think Vladimir Guerrero. Guerrero. I think he's going to get first base. I think Bichette is probably going to get the pick over Torres. So
you're triggering me with that.
Forgive me.
Yeah. So hang on a second. I just want to make sure before we wrap of a couple of things. So next week, before I talk about next week, first and foremost, Spencer, you have been a remarkable co-host this episode. Thanks for stepping up. Much appreciated. Great to have you. I told you I agonized over what cap I'd wear. And so because you're the king of the caps. And so really want to thank you a lot for joining and participating and your trivia questions and everything you do to support Pinstripe Chronicles and the Upper Deck.
I love the show. You guys do a great job.
Thank you. Thanks for being part of that.
Appreciate it.
So I have a couple of plugs to make. So tomorrow, live at 6 p.m. on this YouTube channel, tune in for a conversation with our very own Uncle Tats and 4 Train Express with their guest Scott Brown from MLB.com.
Nice. It's going to be a good show.
For an interview. I think that's going to be a really interesting conversation. So look for the link when it drops. It might already be on the Pinstripe Chronicles YouTube page as waiting. So hit that notify me bell. But look forward to that. And next week, on the tails of the next week's show, we'll be on to Game 3 with the Red Sox. But soon to follow that series, we will have our first Subway Series of the season.
Exciting times.
So we will have a Mets fan joining us next week.
Wonderful. Good idea.
And so a very old dear friend of mine, going back to the Bronx Zoo days. And I'll just leave it at that. And I'm talking about the actual Bronx Zoo, not the Yankees Bronx Zoo.
Must watch TV.
But I can guarantee you it's going to be a salty, fun conversation with our guest Darren DeVivo next week. So, as always, thank you so much for joining. Friends in the chat, you are co-hosts every week. Appreciate you so much. And let's get the rubber bouncing in the right direction and take this series from the Dodgers.
Go Yankees. Beat the Dodgers.
Go Yankees.
Go Yanks.